Hi! So this video is going to be about the content for this week, which has to do with Module 5 and Module 9, even though I've named it Queries Module 9. Um, anyway, so if you're looking up information in the book, you'll want to look um, at Module 5 and Module 9. But this particular supplemental activity that I've got, and I'm going to talk about here in a minute, does provide you with page numbers, so you can look it up in the book directly. All right, so I'm going to send me off to the side here so you can see. Okay, so these are the topics that are covered in this particular supplemental activity: pattern matching criteria, concatenation, parameter queries, is null, and also is not null is also covered in that section. Action queries, and then join types. I think the most difficult concept for students is the join types. And so that is what I'm going to go over in this video in hopes that it will be of help to you. And certainly if you don't want to watch this video, you don't have to. Nobody's going to quiz you on whether you did or not. But if you think it might be helpful because join types are confusing to you, then great. I hope that you get something out of it. All right. Okay, so if you wonder why I'm moving around here, I'm petting my dog while I talk to you. Anyway, so to go to join types, I just want to make sure that you know that each one of these are links and to within the document. And so to go to join types, you can hold the control key down and then click, and it'll take you right there. This document's fairly large, so I put some links in it to help me not go crazy. Anyway, so the things that I want to say about join types is there are two types of join types. The first one is inner joins, and the second one is outer joins. Now, one thing that people get confused about is the difference between join types and how data can be entered. So you've learned about table relationships, and that's a little bit different than join types. Table relationships say how the data can be entered into the tables. Join types say how the data is going to be displayed. And those two things are very different. Okay? Let's see. Join types are specified in one of two ways. They're either specified by going into relationships from the ribbon. So I'm going to go here and I'll show you. And if I click on relationships, this is what I'm talking about, that you can set the join type in here. Okay, here your join type. Okay, so that's one way. And the other way is to have a query. For example, this query right here, if we go into design view of it, and I'll pull this down so you can see it, there is a link here in between these two, and I can go and I can set the join type here as well. Okay, so there's two different ways to set the join types. Okay. All right, so if you do not set a join type, the automatic join type is inner join. Okay, and what an inner join is, let's see, let me scroll down here a little bit. So here's the data, okay, just to show you, and how the data is related, which you saw a little bit ago, okay? And so here, you see this query here, okay? And here's a bank, the customers in a bank, and then their account numbers, okay? And then when you run the query, all of the records from one side and all of the records from the other side are, so if they have partners, then they are displayed. And that's what an inner join is, where they have to have partners. So the parent has to have a child in order for the data to be displayed. And sort of you can think of it like getting a dancing partner. You can't, I mean, I know this isn't really true in society, but just think about it if you were at a dance where the rule was you had to have a partner in order to dance. So those people that have partners can dance and no one else can. Well, that's the same idea here. If a record in the parent table has a child partner, then those records can be displayed. So then people are like, now wait a minute, I'm confused, you know. So if you can think about this, all right, going back up, all right, so it says Nora Jones records, Mike Sierra's records are not showing. So let's go back and look at that data. Okay, so here's Nora Jones and Mike Sierra. And if you come down, back down here, you'll see in the output that in fact they are not here. And you can try this out on your own in the database that's provided for this particular this this particular uh, supplemental activity. Anyway, so just so you know about that, that's what an inner join is. Now remember, once again, I just want to make sure you understand that there's the table relationships rules that you learned earlier in this semester. And that talks about how the data it can be entered into the database, what the rules are for entering. Now we're talking about with join types how the data can be displayed. Okay? I guess I'm losing my partner, my doggy. She's going off to do other things. Okay, so here I talk about how you can set it in two different ways, which I showed a little bit earlier. So I'm not going to go over that. You can read it on your own. And here's some exercises. Okay, so now we talked about inner joins so far. Let's talk about outer joins, okay? So there are two different kinds of outer joins, okay? There's the one where you display all the records from one table and the partners in the other table, and vice versa, okay? So here, going back to our original example, we have these are all the records from the bank customers, and here are all the records from the bank account records, okay? And then again, how those two records are related. Okay, so it's saying you can either show all the records and related records in bank accounts. Okay, so you can show all the records in bank customers and all the related records in bank accounts. So everything here and then related guys here. Okay, that's displaying. Now granted, there's a rule with entering the data that says you can enter anything you want as far as a parent record is concerned, and then any related records that are child records. Okay, so that's entering. But for displaying, you can choose one of two things. You can either say all the records from bank customers and then any related records, or vice versa. Okay, so if we go down here a little bit. All right, so here we're talking about all the records in bank customers and anything that's related in bank accounts. And what I'm trying to do here is focus on this little arrow here, and hopefully you can see it. Because that arrow right there is indicating that these guys are looking for partners. Okay, and these guys are displaying if they are there to display. Okay, that's what that arrow is saying. Okay, all right. And what it's saying here is include all records from bank customers and only those records from bank accounts where the joined fields are equal. Okay. And so here's the results. And remember when we had an inner join, Nora Jones and Mike Sierra didn't display. But because we have an outer join where everything in bank customers displays and anything that's related will display as well. Well, these two don't have partners, but that's okay under this particular kind of join type because and they don't have to. They can have blanks there in those fields. Okay. Okay, so here's where you've got the opposite situation. You've got all the records in bank accounts and anything that's related over on the other side. Okay. All right, now this time, once again, Nora Jones and what was the other guy's name? Can't remember. Oh yeah, Mike Sierra. So Nora Jones and Mike Sierra don't show up here because there's no relating record over on the bank accounts side, right? And so they don't show up in this output when we run the query, okay? And once again, just to make sure you notice this, there's a little arrow here and it's saying go show everything here and anything that's related from here, okay? And so then all of those are listed, okay? So anyway, and here's some exercises you can do. Anyway, so that's join types. And hopefully you understand it a little bit better than you do, than if you read it just in the book. I didn't feel like the book really explained join types very well. So anyway, I hope that that was clear. And I guess that's all I really wanted to go over for this time. So once again, we've learned about table relationships. And table relationships say that if you have, enforce referential integrity turned on, then there are certain rules about how the data can be entered. But it doesn't say anything about how the data can be displayed in a query. Okay. The other thing that I want to say is that you don't necessarily have to have referential integrity turned on to set a join type. Okay. So those two things are separate. So if you have a relationship set up, you can set the join type, but you don't necessarily have to have them for force referential integrity turned on. And force referential integrity has to do with how the data is entered, not how the data is displayed. Join types have to do with how the data is displayed. And if that's confusing to you, I highly recommend that you make up some scenarios and play with it so that it increases your understanding, because it is a little confusing at first, a little bit difficult to absorb, especially since you've maybe got it ingrained in you about enforce referential integrity, that you can only do certain things under certain conditions, and you're thinking about it in terms of entering the data. So anyway, yeah, it can get confusing. Okay, enough of that. Anyway, all right, I'll wish you a good day. Thanks.